Welcome to Outside the Kennel, the heartbeat of the dog game, where real breeders break down real experiences, and the experts drop the knowledge you can't Google. We're talking structure, bloodlines, nutrition, training, wins, losses, and everything that makes champions in and out of the ring. This is for the ones who live it, breathe it, and build it one litter at a time. Your hosts, Ben and Roderick, lock in.
All right. It's Benny Hood here with Outside the Kennel. This week we're going to talk about something you see probably too much of, and I don't know if it's a way to police other grown-ups in the dog game, or if it's just being bitches. And I ain't saying that because it was women this week. It's just talking about just a bunch of bitching, period. Like, I see dudes go after each other like this too. And I'm talking about Facebook face-offs. And when you start airing dirty laundry between... Now, I understand if you get scammed. I really do. I believe it's a useful tool to make it known that somebody does business like this. And if you get, a bunch of people that's done business with that guy that goes, yeah, that's what happened to me too. Well, then that's a community service. But if it's a partner and your disputes over just money, it's really not a public matter, especially if there's an argument to be had on both sides and it's not a clear cut somebody done somebody wrong song. Like, I don't really see the point. And the post that I'm talking about was Chree, a lady I don't know her, admittedly, made a post that alleged that Kim took advantage of her and got a dog from her, and she was owed some money. And I think through her post she made it sound like a lot more money than what it was. But I mean, a dollar's a dollar. The value of money is different for everybody. But so to break it down, just to get this going here, the post was that Kim wanted to buy a dog from her, but then couldn't afford the entire dog, so they done a co-own for $10,000 and a pup back, which ended up being the first pick back. That's pretty hefty. I mean, if you're selling the female for $10,000 on a co-own, you would expect that puppy's going to be at least $10,000 to $20,000 that it produces, right? That would be the expectation. So taking the first pick plus $10,000, well, that's pretty thick. I mean, that's a heavy toll to pay. But anyway, she alleges that was the deal they made, and then the dog broke its leg, and there was to do about that, and then they bred the dog, had the litter, and she didn't get her money for the third pup, and Kim fixed the female and pet homed her. So in the spirit of full disclosure, I know Kim personally. I've done business with Kim, and I haven't never known her to be the way that Chree described her. It was surprising to me, and that's why I reached out to Chree and asked her. First, I wanted to know, was the co-own paid, because that was unclear. The post almost made it sound like Kim never paid nothing, like she got the dog and just went to putting the screws to her. And it took 3 or 4 exchanges before she just said, and she never said yes. That was the other thing I felt like we were playing a little word game, or we were arguing about semantics here, because like, I asked point blank, did Kim ever pay the $10,000 co-own? Because she made it clear that she had got her money back. I mean, her pup back. So that part of the deal was done. What was not ever mentioned directly in the post was whether or not she received the $10,000. So I asked, and one of her responses was, we co-owned the dog. And I was like, I understand that, but so she paid the money. We co-owned the dog. Like, she just kept responding vaguely like that, to where there was room for it was a yes or no question. It's simple. Yes or no. Did she pay you the money? So once we've established, and eventually it was established that she did pay the money. It wasn't, she never answered yes or no, but she did clearly state that yes, they co-owned the dog. So she must have by proxy paid the $10,000. So, and then sometime after she got the dog, when it was young, its leg got broke. Now, Chree in her post alleges that Kim stepped on the dog. And Kim said the dog was playing with another dog, and that's how its leg got broke. Now, I doubt very seriously that Kim was over stomping puppies. That's kind of a ridiculous shade to throw, in my opinion, unless your intentions were just dirty. So, and I don't want to go too one-sided with this, but it's hard because my interaction with Chree was so negative. I asked her about that, and I guess maybe that made her defensive or whatever, and I told her I felt like there was more to the story, and I invited her to come on here and talk about it. And she told me she wasn't going to be my trained circus monkey, which I'm not real sure where that came from, because I feel like I'm a very respectful interviewer, and I give equal time. I'm sure that I had heat with Ian, and ended up interviewing him because of another conflict he was in with Trey, and I feel like I treated him very fairly, and I feel like even though we're not going to do business, that we were professional and respectful to one another, regardless of how we felt about each other. So I'm not 100% sure what the intention was here. So I guess what I'm getting at here is that I feel like she was trying to paint her in the worst possible light, and even taking stuff that she knew wasn't true. She didn't exactly lie, but she let it out there. Like when the dog's leg got broke, she's like, well, I didn't think that the dog should be bred, after that happened. Which I don't believe it was ever the intention to breed the dog with a broken leg. It was healed up. But she was very deliberate in her post in stating that she didn't think the dog should be bred. Now, she's a co-owner, 50-50, and that's part of her argument, is that Kim did some stuff without her blessing, and that was wrong. So if you didn't think the dog should be bred, obviously you could have stood on that business. But they didn't, or this story wouldn't have progressed. And so the dog got better. They bred it. Chree paid for the stud, $3,000 according to her. She was either owed the credit, paid the credit, whatever. However she come across the credit, evidently the value of the stud at the time was $3,000. And they bred it to this dog that was supposed to be a Frenchie. Now, DNA, and Kim sent me these pictures of that dog's DNA as far as from Embark, and it is nowhere near full blood Frenchie. It is a 45 10. It's a half pug, or no, it's 10% pug, 10% or 45% Frenchie, and 45% Boston Terrier. And that was found out after money changed hands, and is my understanding that was not disclosed as to what generation that dog was. It was misrepresented that that dog was further along than that she ended up being. But you're dealing with Pink, so I have no doubt in my mind that Kim knew it wasn't 100%. But I mean, 45% is pretty tough. That's That's definitely below average. On that would put it at a first generation cross. That would be an F1, and you probably should know if you're buying those. But that I guess that's a conversation for another day. But anyways, so they bred this dog and they have a litter of 4. I saw the AKC litter registration where there was only 3 registered. I assume there was a 4th puppy that was not viable or is a pet home. I don't know what the story is, but I'm sure both those ladies could enlighten us if they so wanted to. It doesn't really matter because surely we're not arguing over an unregistered pup or an unregisterable pup. It could never be registered. Anyways, so if Chree got her 10,000 and she got her first pick pup back, then the only argument to be had is about the 3rd pup, because the 2nd pup would have went to Kim according to their agreement through Chree's own admission through her post. So that pup was a blue brindle. It's a blue brindle male with 1 nut. Now, I don't know how many of you out there are listening that are breeders, but those dogs don't command a lot of money. So the amount of money we're talking about here is not that great. So even if they'd have sold that pup, I would think, I don't know, you're probably not going to get more than $3,500 for it. She alleges that Kim owes her $1,500. I don't know how that number came up because the pup was never sold. It was given away at 8 months old. Now, something to revisit here, or a point that should be made, is they were co-owners. So it is not only Kim's decision or Kim's responsibility to sell that pup. So if she had that pup for 8 months because she couldn't move it, then Chree also has 8 months to move that pup. And if neither one of these ladies could move this pup, I doubt any of us could either. So that was when the decision was made on Kim's part to just give the pup away to a pet home. Now, I understand that maybe the etiquette of it would have, been better if she had asked, but I don't know all the details either of the conversations that happened. Now, I do know that I seen a screenshot of text to where she was supposed to come, according to Kim, she offered to give the female back because she didn't want to breed her no more. The dog was big. The kids turned out to be like 40 pounds and tall and looked like Boston Terriers, and it wasn't a dog she was ever going to use again. And now, mind you, she paid $10,000, gave up the pick of the litter, and then decided to not use the dog again. Now, I don't remember the exact time frame, but it was well over 6-8 months that Kim alleges the dog stayed with her, waiting on Chree to organize transport to get the dog back. Now, imagine that. You're going to pay $10,000 into a dog. You don't get crap out of that litter that's worth a damn, and then you give the female back. Now, whether the deal on the pup is true or not, or she sold the pup, she gave the pup away without permission, whatever, if you're getting the mother back, that's a win. If you have that option. Now, according to Chree, she didn't have that option. But this is where I don't know what happened. Obviously, I have my suspicions just from the outside looking in. But that's all it is suspicions. I don't know for a fact. But if she was given this opportunity and she couldn't get the money together to get a transport to bring her the female, there is a statute in my mind. There is a statute of limitations there. If I've given you 8 months, a year to get this dog, and you don't get this dog, well, possession is 9/10 of the law. And at that point, if you're not going to do it, I don't want to feed the dog no more. If I get the dog fixed and give it away, that's kind of on you because I gave you a fair amount of time to handle your business and to conclude this deal. And I gave you a real opportunity that if you believed in a dog the way you act like you believe in a dog online, and you think Kim is exaggerating how bad it is, and Kim says you're exaggerating how good it is, well, put your money where your mouth is and come get your dog. It was offered up. Now, Chree acts as if when that dog got offered up to go back to her that it was already fixed, and that evidently was not the case according to Kim. The dog didn't get fixed until after a lot of time elapsed, and she didn't get the dog. And the dog was fixed to go to a pet home so that, that person wouldn't breed the dog. So I don't really see the problem there. Now, as to why you would bring this up multiple times over the course of a year or two, I don't know. I don't know what would get stuck in your craw and just you wake up one morning and go, I'm just going to go get this money from Kim. So at the end of the day, the max amount of money, the absolute max amount of money this Facebook face-off could be about is $1,500. Like, let's just say the dog was $3,000. The puppy, the one puppy that's in dispute here, because everything else was accounted for. Now, and I have to reiterate, Chree was mad that Kim fixed a dog that Chree herself didn't think ever should be ever should be bred, and then she could have got her back but didn't. So, I mean, she didn't have to be fixed. If she would have arranged transport the minute this thing started going south and Kim gave her the opportunity to get the dog back, it wouldn't have never would have reached the point to where Kim fixed the dog and homed it. Now, the dog, this leads me also to believe Kim on how bad the dog was, because there was some health issues with the dog too. But who pays that much for a co-owned dog and breeds her one time, don't get anything out of it, and then fixes the dog if the dog's great? If the dog's all that, why would you do that? That don't make any sense. That's not something that sane people do. And then also, according to Kim, when the dog went in for the surgery, they detected a heart murmur that Chree denied it having as a puppy, so I guess it just developed it at some point, which I guess can happen, but usually in those cases they don't stay, and it's due to some large amount of stress and or a dog getting attacked and almost dying or something to that nature. And that dog broke his leg. Another dog broke his leg. So I don't know what the time frame was between the surgery and the incident, but I'm assuming it wasn't that day, because it was orthopedic surgery. Like, they had a brace on the outside of the dog. It was pretty involved. Like I said, it was $5,000, $5,500, $5,700, something like that. I don't remember what she said, but it was a lot of money. And Kim paid that out of her pocket. And that Chree did not argue with that. That she did agree with that happened, and that Kim paid for that dog's surgery. So, I mean, it sounds like she's a pretty good co-owner to me at this point. And the dispute is over this dog Moonshine that they use, this stud. Chree blames the stud. I seen a screenshot where Chree said she won't use it again. Or she told Kim that she won't use it again. She wasn't happy with the pups either. So these pups weren't all that, because Chree in the text, even says she won't use that stud again. And I mean, here's what baffles me about this whole deal is, why now? Like, why did we wake up and in the text that Chree posted a screenshot of the text between her and Kim, at the top of it was, hey, pay me my money. I don't want this to affect our friendship. And literally 3 texts later, when Kim said no, Chree effing be this, have a good luck, you effing be that. Like, I'm talking about, I want to salvage our friendship to, what friendship? Because, I mean, even when you got disagreements with somebody, if you consider them your friend, there's usually a lot of respect in the argument. You may be mad at them, but it's lines you don't cross because you can't walk that shit back. And calling somebody a F and B multiple times in one text, that says more about your mental instability than it does, anything else. So at that point, Chree is not trying to reach resolution as she claims. She is just trying to get back. She's just getting her get back. That's all she's doing. She's trying to humiliate her online. She's trying to affect her money some kind of way for whatever her motivation is. That's what that's about. It is not about any kind of adult thing where she's trying to mitigate this problem and reach an agreement and save a friendship. The minute she took it to line and started posting screenshots of a private conversation, and selective ones in my opinion, because they didn't flow. So they were hand-picked screenshots that she put up. And that's another thing. Like, if you're going to put up the whole, let people form their own opinions. If it's what you say it is, nobody's going to agree with you completely. You're never going to get a whole room to agree with you. But you put the information out there, and if you're right, the majority of people they're going to see it your way. So, I mean, that was the other red flag, is the conversation that she posted was all over the place. It did not flow. It was obvious they were not a continuous string of text. And when I reached out to her and first asked about the, whether she paid the money and I got the avoidance that I got, well, then I asked her if she wanted to come on this show and talk about it. And I told her, and I did all this on the post, so there was no behind the scenes, no bullshit. It was all out in the open. And I told her that I would give Kim equal time to plead her side of the case. So with that being said, she started lecturing me about how I need to get standards, and was pretty aggressive to me as far as how she talked to me. Told me I didn't know her and she wasn't gonna be a circus monkey, and I told her that's a shame that she wouldn't come on the show. I've never interviewed a circus monkey, and she could have been the first. Most of the people I bring on here, I treat them with respect and professionalism, and I really believe that there's two sides to every story, and the truth lies somewhere in the middle. And that was my, she accused me of making money off of her misfortune, or however she worded it, but that's bullshit, because anybody knows does these podcasts, and ain't no Joe Rogan here. I got 17 listeners, so it wasn't going to be no money to be made. But, you could put both sides out there, and if it had legs on Facebook, people would listen. People would have the opportunity to go hear both sides. But I don't think that was her intent. And I didn't really appreciate how she tried to lecture me, telling me I didn't know nothing about her, and then lectured me as if she knew me and my standards and my character and my values. So, you know what? That's why we're here, because she kind of pissed me off. So I wanted to make this, I wanted to do this discussion or this talk because this is not an isolated incident. This is not the first one. This happens a lot, to where once you got this, what you got, this disagreement. So the main question is when breeders have a dispute, should it be handled privately or publicly? And is there a point in which you go private and go public? And when you go public, what is your intent? Because it is not resolution, I assure you. If you want to divorce your wife and you stand up in Walmart and yell, "I'm about to divorce this woman because she slept with my best friend, or she don't cook," or whatever your damn reason is, When you announce that, that woman never gonna forgive you for that, as she shouldn't, because you crossed the line. You let something out of a bottle you can't put back. No matter how much she forgives you, she ain't never gonna forget that. And you wouldn't either if she done the same thing to you. So a partnership's a partnership. And if you're in business together and you have that dispute, I don't think that there's a time where it should be brung to the public eye unless the other person is doing something to demean your character, your business, your kennel, your whatever. If somebody is devaluing your name, you have the right to defend yourself. But if it's just a dispute over some money and nobody's really slandering each other, it's small claims court. That's why it exists. And that's what grown-ups would do. And that's my opinion. So, I don't know if social media, I guess the question would be, does social media even have a role in breeder disputes? And like I said earlier, I don't think it does when it comes to partners, unless there's some kind of slandering happening, and you need to defend your name or your reputation. But if somebody scammed you in a dog deal, you don't do business with them, but you bought a dog from them, it wasn't what they said it was, or there was some problem they wouldn't make right, that's a different story. That becomes a public service. That's a breeder's PSA there. So the difference, grown-ups have to determine the difference between a disagreement and an actual scam. Because just because you lost in the dog game don't mean you got scammed. Everybody loses. And if you're not prepared to accept that, you should not be. I don't even know what business you would ever be in. You should just be an employee. Because no matter what happens, you get paid for the time you're there. If you don't want to lose, you can never own or run anything. Because loss is just part of it. How you deal with it is what separates you from other people, from other kennels. How you handle the loss and move forward from that. And getting online and crying about somebody did somebody wrong. Like, hey, to each is their own, but I think that's a little bit chicken shit. And why would people run to Facebook thinking that that's going to bring resolution? They're not. I'm going to just go on and say that right there. Everybody out there that hears this knows in your heart, when you go public with something, with a dispute, it is not to reach a resolution. It is to get your get back, to win. You have decided that I'm going to say whatever I want to say about this person, truth or lie, whatever kind of person you are. You know damn good and well that you're not trying to reach a resolution. You are trying to put hurt on them. Whatever it is, their reputation, their pocketbook, all the above, their business, whatever it is, you are not trying to get your money. You are trying to hurt their money. It's a vengeful thing. And anybody says any difference, bullshit. Like I said, if you get scammed, that's one thing. Let's don't get it confused, and let's keep that points very separated. If somebody takes advantage of you on a business deal, then that's one thing. But if you're in partnership with somebody and 90% of the obligation was fulfilled, and you go to Facebook over the smallest percentage of the deal, and there's more to the story than what you're putting out there, that's kind of bullshit. That's not grown-up stuff right there. That's junior high. So, for those of you that don't know, like all breeders know, I'm sure, let's just go ahead and just broach the whole subject. Since we're going to use this nucleus to get started here, let's just kind of I'm going to kind of go over what a co-own is, and how I do it, how other people do it, and how it should work, and usually how it does. So, for those of y'all don't know, like a co-own it's shared ownership. It's just what it sounds like. You have a dog that you intend on breeding. Somebody produced the dog. Somebody's going to house the dog. Somebody's going to be responsible. You're going to split it 50-50, whatever your agreement is. You split all the bills 50-50. Somebody pays for somebody houses the dog, feeds the dog, takes care of his day-to-day. You split the vet bills, C-sections, whatever. It could be that one person is responsible for C-sections. The other person is responsible for setting up the studs. Like it can be whatever you want it to be that works for you two people. And as long as you're dealing with somebody that's, I've had more success with co-owns with people that I know living up to their deal. Now, that being said, I have a couple co-owns out of people that's how I met them, was through their desire to co-own the dog. And they're about 50-50. Some of them live up to their obligations, and then some of them you have to go get your dog back, or they bring it back, or whatever happens, but it doesn't work out the way it was originally intended. Now, you have, you can split the litter. A lot of times I'm co-owning a dog that is not 100% what I'm looking for. Now, it may be somebody else's cup of tea, but I have my own taste. And if I've produced a dog that I'm like, man, she's got 70-80% of what I want, she needs one more breeding. Well, I'm not going to, once I breed that dog and I get what I want from her, I'm not breeding that dog again, because every time you're going to start back over with that flaw. So if they're selling pets, or if they just want a pet, they want to breed one time, make a little money, and then pet home the dog. They want to fix the dog. That's their business, because after whatever our agreement is, most of the time for me it's either half the litter or first pick, and I let them choose, because they can take, if they don't want to sell but just one or two puppies, make their C-section money back, and then they have this pet that they couldn't have afforded to pay $3,000-$4,000 for, and they got it basically for the cost of a C-section, and they have the opportunity to make their money back. That's a pretty good deal for them. I get what I'm looking for out of the deal if they give me first pick. Now, if I take half the litter, I take evens. That way, if there's an odd number of pups, 5, they're going to get 3, and I'm going to get 2. Because I don't have to win all the way. My whole purpose is I only want a particular one. I'm looking for one dog out of this deal that fits what I'm looking for and what I'm trying to move towards in my breeding program. And when this is over with, 9 times out of 10, what happens is they get the dog fixed and she's a pet for the rest of their life. And that's on the females. Now, that wasn't what the arrangement was here. A lot of people charge a big, usually around half of what they determine the value of the dog is to get in. And I get that if you're messing with somebody that you don't know, that's not necessarily a bad idea. That way, if you all go south, at least you get something out of it. So I don't think Chree was a bad person for charging $10,000. Like, that was just back then, them years ago. Like, that's what a pink carrier would bring, regardless. Some of them was kind of weird looking. So, but if I know that person, I'm not going to do that, because it's. See, that's the thing. That comes down to a personal thing. I think if you're going to call somebody a partner, then you can't expect to make money off of everything that you do for them, because that's a customer, not a partner. If you're a partner, we need to work together to bring new money to the circle. If I'm just taking money from you and you're taking money from me, we're just it's old money that we're passing back and forth. You know what I'm saying? You're not getting nowhere. I view it a little different. I don't make my living off these dogs too, so I don't have that pressure in my life. So it allows me to make different decisions than some people. I'm not judging nobody. I'm just saying this is how I do it, and it's how I look at it, because this is, I'm a hobby breeder. You know, I'm trying to produce dogs to go to shows with, and that's what I'm doing. So like I don't my motivation is not the same as other people. But so if I let somebody have a dog at no cost because I know they're going to go to a home and they're going to be well taken care of, and when the deal's done and they've bred them once or twice and they've made their money, I know they're going to fix them, and that dog ain't never leaving that house. That dog will be pampered and it'll stay in that house forever. I don't have a problem in the world of letting that dog leave my place at no charge, with the expectation that they're going to handle the vet care and the C-section. And then we're going to split the pups however we're going to split the pups, whatever we agreed on. And like I said, I use it. I leave it to them. You know, as far as the stud goes, if that first breeding, because it's only for one breeding too. If they decide to breed a dog after that, it's 100% theirs. I don't have nothing to do with it. And I'll give you half off of any stud in my yard at that point in time, because that's my female. So if my stud's at 1,000, you can breed to him for 500, because as long as it's a female that I produced. And especially if we done business and it was successful, you know, we were fair to each other. If I trust you, it's an open book here. But so the co-owns are they're not all bad. I mean, they can be really beneficial, but it comes down to excuse me. Comes down to the two people involved and how much grown-ups they are and how much respect they have for each other. At the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. Because if you have a disagreement with somebody you have a lot of respect for, you approach that person a lot different than you do somebody you don't. If you view yourself as superior or this person as inferior for whatever reason, morally, you know, financially, whatever, people tend to deal with those people and approach those people differently. And that puts those people on guard. So I'm not saying that's what happened with Chree. We're way off that. We're way off of that now. But and that's the. So people, I mean, people do co-owns because, I mean, it eliminates overcrowding. You know, if your spot you can only have 3 or 4 dogs comfortably, you know, and you need to keep another dog for your program. A co-own's a way to for that dog's life to be good and yours, and you know, in your kennel to stay at a manageable number, to where, you know, you're not overcrowded and you're not overrun, you're not overwhelmed. Everybody wins there. You can build, you know, you use it to build partnerships. People that couldn't necessarily, you know, and this, a lot of people frown on people that ain't got money. They're trying to get in it. They're trying to do this. They're trying to do that. A lot of that's true. They're looking for a cheap dog. They're looking for a free handout. There's a lot of that. But not everybody. There are people that just couldn't afford a $10,000 initial investment for a dog. But they would care for that dog better than somebody that would have gave you $30,000 for that dog. Because when people got that kind of disposable income, it don't mean as much to them. If you give somebody a dog that was even $5,000 or $7,000 and go, this is your dog. You owe me on the back end, but this is your dog. You make decisions. You make the care. Going to the vet and spending $200 ain't that big a deal to them. It ain't $5,000. Pet insurance ain't but $50-$60 a month. That's affordable. But you tell somebody to hand you $7,000, a different story. They're good people. They just want an opportunity. Are you going to give it to them or not? I mean, and through that, if you do that and you extend that faith in them, I promise you, most people, that loyalty you would get back, man, it's worth 10 times what you could have got for that dog. If you have somebody that knows that's going to be honest with you and going to be straight with you, man, fuck the 10,000. Like, that's worth 10 million. And I think that gets overlooked a lot. Like, building a relationship of loyalty and respect is, the money don't mean much. You know what I'm saying? Like, money comes and goes, but good partners, nah. It's like half your marriages end in divorce. It's rare to find somebody that'll stick it out through all things. And when you find those people, through the losses and the wins, you better appreciate them. So, I mean, let's talk about some of the common causes of these Facebook face-offs or breeder fallouts or disputes. Is the areas of conflict, number one, without a doubt, money. And that's what I was talking about with the loyalty and the respect thing. If you got that, the money is way down the list. But if, like in this situation, it had nothing to do with friendship. It was 100% money, and it was over $1,500. Now, if I had a friend and we had a falling out, it's never going to be over $1,500. Am I going to be a little upset that I didn't get mine? But if I come to him and he explains to me what happened and what the deal is, if I have that loyalty and that respect, I'm going to accept it. And I'm going to get over it. And it ain't going to be a problem in the future. I guess you could fight over stud rights, registration papers, possession of the dog, breeding decisions. All that. That's the other thing. Is if you're going to partner up, you need to be partner up with people that either understand what you're trying to do or y'all are trying to do the same thing. Because if you're trying to produce a dog that's real exotic and you're going to take to these shows and you're going to try to study them out, and they trying to create pet home puppies, them are not the same. A lot of people ain't knocking your door down, pet home, wanting, big rope full fluffies. They're a little weary of those sometimes. A lot of times a standard looking Frenchie with good structure sell for a lot more pet home than some of these exotics, to depending on where you live and what your base is. So possession of the dog, that should probably be decided before obviously that's going to have to be decided before any money ever changes hands. And for how you split your litters, it's how whatever works for you. But like I said, I do first pick or evens. That way the person that raised the dog, that paid for the C-section, that's going to whelp the puppies, if there's a benefit to be had, I give it to them, because they're the ones putting in the sweat equity. The money, again, it doesn't mean as much, or it's not as important as your friendship and the respect for that person if you're partnering with people that earn that and that you should give and that you give that to. So maybe you should never go into a co-own, no matter how thirsty you are or how desperate you are. You should never be in a co-own if it's not with somebody that you respect and that you feel respects you. You can't control what they really think, but all you can do is base your decisions off of what you feel they do, whether they respect you or not. And if you got questions about that, I would suggest you stay out of that damn co-on. Go find you somebody else. The key point to this whole deal, and Miss Kim's and Chree's deal is I thought we agreed. That's awful. That's always where the trouble begins. Is somebody had an idea that it was going to be a certain way, and somebody had an idea that it was going to be another certain way, and neither those didn't collide, and they never come to a common point. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, you need to, when you partner with somebody, it needs to be somebody that has a similar vision to yours, and that will greatly reduce the chance for disagreements on what studs to use, what puppies to keep moving forward, who should get what puppies. You know what I'm saying? Like in the deal. Like so you got to be clear. And they should a breeder shouldn't be ashamed to tell you what their intentions are, what they're looking for. And if they're taking first pick, I hate to do that. I'd much rather do the split with the evens. But if I supplied the female and the stud, man, I got to get first pick because it's I got to get what I got to have out of that, or at least have the opportunity. And if what I want, because you can line everything up in your favor, knowing the DNA and all that, but nature does what nature does. And if I can't get what I want out of that, I will come back to the table and go, hey, I didn't get the first pick that I wanted. So if you want to do the split and I just take 2 puppies and you take 3 puppies, we can do that. And if that's what they want to do, then that's what we'll do. And if they don't, then I'm going to make my first pick and I'm going to go on. And if it was a loss, I'm going to take it because you know why? They didn't pick what dogs was born. They're at the mercy of nature just like I am. And there's no rules saying that I can't take a loss and they should because I gave them some kind of benefit, some kind of, opportunity. So they should take the loss gladly. That's bullshit. That's selfish thinking. If you're a partner, you'll figure out a way to take that loss together so that neither side has to bear the entire load. Chree brought up this deal that she was going to sue her. She was going to take her to court, and she didn't have a contract. I did ask her that. There was no contract. But she had text exchange. She said, we're valid, as a contract. And I think she's right to a point, but not absolute. So like from my Google search, my Google research, from the Google Book of Law, it states that it is, but you have to have a clear, defined agreement. Like the other person has to acknowledge it, like through text. Her acknowledgement that Kim agreed to the split of these puppies and the payments and all that was a heart emoji. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I want to just say, I ain't no doubt. If I'm a judge and you tell me your proof that she agreed to this text binding contract was a heart emoji when you laid it all out, practically, I can see that being the case. But legally, I mean, come on now. She could have that could mean that she saw it, she's thinking about it, she acknowledges that you sent it, she want to let you know that she got that text. That doesn't mean, like, you need a clear and yes, that is what we'll do. So I think the getting on there and threatening lawsuits makes you look a little childish too. But I mean, it's neither here nor there. It's it's not a heart emoji. It's just so childish. I would be interested to know that if that held up in court, it's all gone to shit. Even worse than we thought. Hey, can you imagine? If you told your old lady, hey, I'm gonna step out on you, you cool with that? And she sent you back even like a bird, emoji. And then when you're in divorce court later and he goes, well, why did you cheat on her? Well, she said it was all right. She flipped me off. She acknowledged that she didn't say no. That ain't gonna fly. I'd be interested to see how that works out for her. And God bless her heart. And a key point here is if people are debating what an emoji meant years later, the agreement probably wasn't documented clearly enough. If that's your Matlock moment, your gotcha, man, you're going to spend a lot of money and not get nothing back. You're going to be real mad when Judge Judy tells you to get the hell out of her court. So I don't know, like that. So that would mean like you need a contract. Even if you're the best of friends, if you grew up, you knew each other 30 years, you just need a contract. A simple contract. You get on chat, knock you one out, all the agreements. You tell chat all the things that you agreed on and how everything was going to be split. You print it out, everybody gets a copy, you sign it, you move on. Because at least then there's an established baseline to where if it all starts going to shit like this did, you can go, that wasn't the agreement. That wasn't what happened. And that wasn't what I'm going to honor, because this, even though at this point I'm taking a loss because the dog wasn't what it was represented at, I don't owe you for this, or I owe you for this. And it's clear. It's over. And then if you want to go to court, go to court. But, you know, when you get fluid like that and you don't establish the rules of the game, don't get mad whenever you feel like you got cheated. You know, it's because chances are they didn't feel like they were cheating you. They felt like they were doing what was fair. And fair just didn't mean you won. And, you know, flip side of that is they could be fucking you too. That's why a contract is important. Even probably more so amongst friends, because if somebody knows a contract is out there and that they signed it, like that's more than likely a sane person. It will dictate how aggressively they pursue matters, because there's no debate anymore on you know what was supposed to happen and what didn't happen. And so, you know, that's that's just kind of the problem with fucking social media. It's just it's such an effective tool at destroying relationships. Your Facebook is your judge, jury, and executioner. I mean, it's the problem with it is there's one-sided stories. If I hadn't stumbled onto, I don't know, somebody got tagged. I don't know how it fell across my FYP, because I'm not even friends with her, with this Chree. But it come across my FYP, and I mean the story's one-sided, right? Like I read it and I'm like, that don't sound like the Kim I know. So obviously I'm curious, you know. And then you get public, you get that mob mentality where all their friends, you know, are on there just trashing the other person, for what happened there was, oh, she's a shit breeder. I can't believe this. I can't stand people like this. This was people talking about Kim that didn't even know who Kim was, because I've seen Kim's facility, and it is everybody should strive. If you're not to that level, that is the top. Like, those dogs are they live better than some folks I know. So, like, to get on there and comment about somebody that you have no idea, that's just, I mean, you're a sheep. You're just being led. Like, you ain't doing your own critical thinking. You read through that whole deal and you thought, oh, this woman broke this dog's leg and bred her and never paid for anything. And so she never paid for the dog, but then Chree goes ahead and pays for the stud later. Like, I mean, come on, critical thinking. It's a lost art. Like, there's things in there where it should raise your eyebrow, and you at least need an explanation. You know, how, as far as that, you get that confirmation bias. Like, I admit, you know, I know Kim, so that was what started this whole deal. So I was like, that don't sound like somebody I know. And, you know, how often do you hear both sides? Because, like I said earlier, you got two sides of every story, and then the truth is usually in the middle somewhere. And how often do people investigate before sharing? Like, I ask you this: how many times you seen a story and went, "Oh, fuck that guy, man! He's that's a son of a bitch right there. I'm gonna share that. I'm gonna get my part of letting people know to watch out." How many times have you went, I don't know, let me Google this right quick. Let me see if there's a credible news source reporting this. Or am I just going to be part of spreading a rumor? That mentality, most times, most people just hit that share button because that's a lot easier than doing your own homework. You know, can the public opinion be wrong? Absolutely it can, because it's only given the facts of the storyteller. or the perspective of the storyteller. Perception is your reality. So I have no doubt in my mind that Miss Chree feels like she was taken advantage of. She was too passionate about her post. But if you look at some of the stuff with a critical eye, you can see it from a different light on both sides. Like, I'm surprised Kim was involved without a contract. I bet she's learned a lesson if I'm a betting man. And, you know, the last key point on this particular topic here is the loudest story is not always the most accurate story. So if you're somebody that's got a big following, you could crush somebody with a small following with a bunch of lies. And people need to realize that just because somebody says something happened don't mean it did happen. And sharing it only makes it worse, and you're part of the problem, not the solution. Now, if you go do some investigation of your own, you ask around, you talk to some folks, and you find out some more stuff, and you feel like, yeah, that chick's bad, that dude's bad. Do what you want to do. But blindly sharing something as if it were facts, I mean, it's just, and not just for the dog stuff. This life, people. It's just, you ever tried to prove you didn't do something? It's a side note. I learned this early in life. I was about 22 years old, and I started working in the oil field with Schlumberger. Maybe I was 23, and I went away to a driving school for 2 weeks. And I come home and I got my girlfriend and we went to a convenience store and got some drinks, some snacks and stuff. We was gonna go back to my place and watch a movie. Anyways, so I go in this convenience store. Now this is back early 2000s, like 2001. 99, something like that, 2000, 2001. And, man, you know, people paid for stuff with checks still back then. And I was one of them people. It wasn't all about that debit card. And I went into the store, bought this stuff, paid for it, got some gas, paid for everything with a check, and left. Drove on, went to my house. Now, 50 seconds after I left that store, a man walked in Carhartt coveralls with a shotgun and robbed that damn place. Now, I had no clue. And you can see me just drive off. I had other things on my mind. And I never saw the guy. But so I went back to work, and about 2 weeks later, my old man called me, said, "Hey, what the hell did you do?" I said, "I don't know what you're talking about. The cops are looking for you." So I worked in Tyler, and this happened in Palestine, which is about 50 miles apart. And so I was like, I don't know why Palestine PD would be looking for me. I've been up here for 2 weeks. You know, I hadn't been home. And so I called this detective that left his number, and I went down to the police station and to speak to him. And they bring me in this room, and we're in that room, and they bring this TV in like in an old school setting with a VCR underneath. They roll this dude in there, and they crank that VCR up, and it's my ass walking around in that store. And then I get up there, and I knew the girl. Like, I went to school with the girl that was working behind the counter. So we have a conversation, right? And while I'm writing this check, I give her the check and boogie on out of there. This dude walks in, and I went, "Holy shit." He went, "Yeah, 50 seconds after you left. Did you see anything?" I went, "I don't, man." And I told him, I just went to this deal. I got my girlfriend. We're going to go watch movies. We're getting supplies. It's a weekend. Blah, 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 blah. I didn't have my investigating eyes on. I wasn't paying attention to my surroundings. And he was like, "So But your girlfriend says she's seen a truck like your mother's. Now, I had my mother at the time didn't drive a white truck, but my stepmother did. And my girlfriend referred to my stepmother, it's just my mother, because that's what we did. And there wasn't no separation like that. So when she said that, I was like, no. Or when he said that. Now, that was the other sneaky thing they did, is I didn't know. They took her to, after they took me to one interrogation room, they took her to another one. And they were back there questioning her. And she told them that because she stayed in the truck, that she seen some dudes on the side of the building in a white truck like my mother drove. So they come in there with that shit, and I'm like, my mother I don't know what she's talking about. My mother drives an SUV, I don't know. And then it dawns on me. I said, oh, she's talking about my stepmom. Then it was a little white Dakota. And they were, and I mentioned it, like, man, she handled the pressure of having that gun shoved in her face pretty good. Like, that girl's, she brave. And they thought the same thing is what they told me. And that's when it become clear to me, they thought we was all in this together. As far as me with the guys that robbed the store, because they said that they felt like somebody was waiting in the truck because of how quick. You couldn't tell what side of the truck exactly he run to, but it did look like he went and got in the passenger side when he left, because the camera was looking at the register and there was a big window, but it was tinted out behind. So you could see like the shadow of somebody moving over there in the outside lights. And what they thought is I went in there and scouted that store out, and I was in a situation to where I was no longer presumed innocent. I was presumed part of the ring here, and I had to prove. And I asked the man, what kind of sense would it make for me to go write a check in a place I'm about to rob or be part of robbing? And he said, well, we thought about that too, but people do dumb stuff. And I'm like, well, what, we're done talking. But I couldn't prove that I didn't know who that was. I couldn't prove, and they were looking at me. They felt I was guilty. That guy, in retrospect, was trying to trip me up. And I mean, you can't get blood from a turnip, man. I wasn't robbing no damn gas station and pay for shit with a check beforehand. I don't know what dumbass criminals they're catching, but that was not going to be me. But that's my point, though. Is as I digress, is you if you're going through life, you're not taking notes every day in case you need an alibi. And then when you need that proof, you always say, well, I wish I'd have done this or I wish I'd done that. Well, you never intended on screwing somebody over, so you never felt like you needed that proof. So that's the loudest story is not always the most accurate story. And you should keep that in mind before you trash somebody online or you share something trashing somebody. I don't know if you're going to share it privately. Share it to your friends. That's, your contact list. There's, hey, you know anything about this deal here? You can talk about it privately. It don't have to be shared all over Facebook to start with. The information's not always what it appears to be. You can have deleted posts, selective screenshots, missing context. You can take things out of context. You can do additional screenshots. You could take screenshots from a conversation that had jack shit to do with this situation and put it up because it makes that person look guilty. Contradictory evidence. You don't get the chance to if you don't talk to both sides or you don't hear both sides of the story, which was kind of my point of both sides. If Chree come on here and told her story, and Kim come on here and told her story, then it's up to you. You've heard both sides. To me, that's a fair way of putting your disagreement out into the world. Not necessarily on here, just any public forum where you both got equal time and treated equally. Like it's not slotted to one person or the other. And again, I'll cite the Ian and Chree disagreement. Both of them, I believe, was treated very fairly and very equally to tell their side of the story. I believe I stayed very Switzerland on that deal, even with the heat that me and Ian previously had. And do people, like, so you got to ask questions. Like, do people change their opinions, when new facts emerge? Some people, they decide you're guilty, and it doesn't matter. Jesus himself could come and say, no, this is not what happened. And you're never going to convince that person because they don't want to be wrong. They don't want to be wrong. They've already made this decision that you were a piece of shit, and they can't back off of that because there's something wrong with them, and they can't be wrong. That's the other. And if that evidence does come to light, is the correction is it ever visible? Is it ever as visible as the accusation was? Excuse me. Usually it's not. It's like a newspaper back in the day when everybody got the news from the newspaper. I can remember as a kid, you would get a big story on the front page, and then later as the evidence developed, somebody robbed somebody or somebody broke into something, somebody stole something, and 10 people got arrested. Well, maybe one of those people wasn't guilty, right? But their name was on the front page with all the people that got arrested, as if they were just as guilty, and then later they were cleared of any wrongdoing. The retraction that the newspaper would put may be on the third page, and nobody ever sees it because it was 3 weeks later. Like, they done moved on from that story. The retraction did shit. It was never as visible as the original story. It's the same thing. We do the same thing. We're just doing it on social media. We're not doing it on the Jacksonville Daily Progress, or I can't remember what Palestine Sentinel was. I don't know what that paper was, but that happened. That happened to somebody I knew. Big front page printout, cleared all wrongdoing, all charges dropped. This person walks free. It was our bad, and that retraction was on the last page. It's bullshit. It's not necessarily that the internet remembers that long accusations longer than than corrections. It's people. We've been doing that. That this is not something I could blame on social media. This is something that it's people. It's you'll always remember. T-Rod always says, "Bad news beat you home." People love to tell that bad news. It's that good news. Only the people. That's how you tell who cares about you. People that care about you, they tell that good news. You know what I'm saying? They in your corner. They're rooting for you to do good in life. So, getting towards the end of this thing, get ready to wrap this up. I think the main point to take from this is if your true intent is resolution, private resolution is better than public warfare. If resolution is your goal, and it should be with your partner. Like I said, if somebody takes advantage of you, steals your money, gives you a shit dog, by all means blast away. But if it's somebody you're supposed to be respecting, and you did, or you wouldn't have gave them the opportunity to go on something with you, like, have a phone call if you can't go meet. Like, face-to-face is so much better than all these other avenues we have of communication today. It's still tried and true. You can't text, you can't feel somebody's voice inflection, their intent. It's what you think they're mean. It's a lot of interpretation in the text. It's bullshit. If you are mad at them, 9 times out of 10, you're going to take their text as aggressive too. It's not a neutral media. A phone call's definitely better than a text. I guess you could always, if it escalates and you can't solve it yourself, that's what attorneys are for. Mitigation, contract review. Like, all these things should happen before you blast somebody online, especially if it's somebody you're supposed to have respect for. You know, as far as, you know, if you're going to do public warfare, like, you know, and you're going to Facebook post and you're going to affect people's lives and you're going to have comment sections because you want complete strangers. Because let's just be honest, if you got 2,500 friends on Facebook, 5,000 friends on Facebook, man, you don't know those people. You know a certain percentage of those people, but you're opening up this story, and for all those people that don't know either party involved really, to comment and to run these people down. That's what you gotta realize. You're opening this up to somebody you've never really met commenting on these people, and that's why you can't back it up. That's why you can't put it back in the bottle. Is because of the magnitude of what you're opening this disagreement up to. And you have to decide. It comes down to your character, in all honesty, because which method actually resolves the problem and which method simply grows an audience. In this case, I feel like it could have been handled privately for them. I do know one party, and I believe her to be reasonable. And so, like, I think that if with what I seen of the text from what Chree posted, what I talked to Kim about, like, I think resolution could have been reached here. I just don't think it was wanted. I don't think. I thought it was ironic that she accused me of trying to profit off of her disagreement with Kim, when I believe that's exactly what she was doing on Facebook by airing all this out the way she did. I think it's ironic to accuse somebody of doing something that is the exact same thing you're doing. It wasn't like I heard a rumor from somebody and decided to talk about it. You made it known in public. How can you exploit something like that? If you told the story in public for anybody to pick up, how are you being exploited? I'm gonna need make that make sense. So the key point there is solving a problem and winning an argument are not the same thing. So if your claim was you want resolution, the way you went about getting it was never going to get you there. You were never going to win. It was only going to be damage. And now, if you truly viewed her as your friend, you have to know that's done. It's over. What you've done is I mean, you ain't the worst person in the world, but very rarely you're going to be able to back that back, you know. So, I mean, good luck to you, and I hope in the future you learn how to troubleshoot your problems a little more effectively, and maybe more emotionally stably. So. I mean, when you see a situation like this, the reason that I even give it time is because there is life lessons you can learn from this, especially in the breeding world. From this, I can tell you this, even with my best friends that I co-own dogs with, moving forward, I'm gonna have a standard contract. I'm guilty of doing the same thing, of entering into these agreements with people that I known for a while, and I don't have a contract. So I don't think in the future I'm going to do any more co-owns without a contract for their protection in mind, in case someday we wake up and we forget what we agreed on. You know, we're going to signature, we're going to date it, take pictures of it, screenshot it, whatever you got to do. You know, you can literally make a contract in 10 minutes with chat. Like, it's an amazing tool. I've done a couple episodes on how you can use them in your program. So it's your fault if you don't. You ain't even got to get a lawyer involved, because a lot of times just writing it down in agreement, if you are truly respectful of that partner, if they bring that contract up, y'all can look at it and go, yeah, you're right, or whoever, or you're wrong. This is where you misunderstood. You know what I'm saying? Like it don't have to. It don't have to be a beating somebody over the head with it. Yeah, good. It's like they say, good fences make for good neighbors. Good paperwork. It makes for good partnerships. That'd be that's what I take out of this, and it's what I'm gonna change moving forward. Is I don't want to end up in a situation where I had a friend for however many years that I lose over a dog. Now, I mean I like dogs more than most people, but so if I had a friend and you're my friend, like, trust me, like, we gonna work it out. And then, so to go ahead and bring this to a conclusion, has social media, I guess, has it improved the dog community or damaged it? And that's for each person to answer. Like, there's pros and cons to everything, right? And are breeders too quick to take sides? Because I believe that's a form of hater. Like, the minute you hear something bad about somebody that you don't know, and you just go, yep, they're shit, I'm going to just file that away, that they're shit. It says probably more about you than it does the two people in the conflict. It's I think people are too quick to jump to a side. You want to believe the worst in somebody. I don't know if that has something to do with some shit that's broken in you or your life experiences or what, but, I ain't saying everybody's that way, but there are a lot of people that way. You could tell them the best. You could tell them that a person did the best thing ever, donated all these toys to these underprivileged children, and you'd be like, yeah, what kind of toys was they? Was they new? It's a bunch of skepticism. Oh, my God. I don't know. Ain't nobody that good. But then you could tell them that same person stole a bunch of toys from some people, and they're like, oh, shit. Fuck them pieces of trash. That's just human nature. It's the bad side of us. And I guess the question to ask yourself is, which one are you? And what responsibility do you have at sharing? Is it really your responsibility to make that problem bigger if you don't know what's going on? If you don't know exactly what happened? Or no, maybe if you don't even have a vague idea of what happened. Why are you sharing that? Why are you progressing that? Let it marinate. The truth will come out. The cream always rises to the top. So, final thing is that I'll mention is if a dog is valuable enough to fight over, it's valuable enough to have a written contract. And it's simple as that. Like, contracts could have solved this whole deal, I believe, or at least could have held a party accountable if Kim really didn't fulfill her obligations, or if she was misled. A contract could have cleared all that up, because you can put in a contract that the dog that you're getting is stated to be of this purity, and then when you prove it's not, well, I mean, that contract's null and void, right? Like, it is that simple. It can be that simple. So, just so you know, that's all I got to say about this. I do wish the best to both of those ladies, and I hope they reach resolution without without any more Facebook face-offing, and I hope it don't come to suing one another. But at the end of the day, it gave me something to talk about, so I guess I exploited it. But y'all have a good day, and it was just food for thought. And we'll see you next time here on Outside the Kennel.
Welcome to Outside the Kennel, the heartbeat of the dog game, where real breeders break down real experiences, and the experts drop the knowledge you can't Google. We're talking structure, bloodlines, nutrition, training, wins, losses, and everything that makes champions in and out of the ring. This is for the ones who live it, breathe it, and build it one litter at a time. Your hosts, Ben and Roderick, lock in.